I was wearing the back brace but I was still an athlete. I was still trying to play, trying to match up with my friends and play softball and play golf but I was always on medication. I was always on an over-the-counter medication.
Yeah.
And it was like a yo-yo, you're up and down, up and down. And when it wore off, the inflammation continued and then
Yeah.
the discomfort but I even used magnet therapies. I would put a magnet on my back, literally tape a magnet on my back and to use that to get some of that discomfort that I was experiencing, especially when I'm standing in a trading pit and I can't leave. And I had magnets in my shoes and I was trying that and
That that's
then
long standing definitely didn't help. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. So I was, then you're buying these specialized shoes to
mhm.
stand in too that would contour. You'd get the orthotics, whatever it was. I was trying little things that might help me. I even tried this medical procedure called prolotherapy.
Hmm.
And it was recommended to me in 2001. And that procedure, they do a series of shots into the area that is of concern.
Mhm.
And I remember the very first time I went, and they gave me 80 shots in my lower back, like all
Oh,
up and down the spine, in that SI joint area, on my hips, and it was, like whoa! And I remember squeezing those rubber balls they made you squeeze in your hand, as they're doing this. And I did that procedure 12 years in a row.
oh
Um,
my Lord. Wow.
and it never really helped. I mean, at one point it felt better, but it never stuck.
Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Third Chances. Today, my guest is Brett Oakley, and it's funny we just met, although we realized we work with the same company. So, to be fully open, we both work with the redox signaling technology that I'm absolutely a huge fan of. But that wasn't always the case for neither of us.
Yeah.
Brett was working as a Chicago Board of Trade Options broker, but he now educates others about redox signaling technology from Columbus, Ohio. After 34 years of chronic back and other health issues, he found transformative relief through redox back in 2017. His mission now is to share this breakthrough with everybody else who is seeking natural cellular level wellness. Well, Brett, nice to see you. Welcome, welcome to my podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you for the invite, Vera. I appreciate that. It's great to talk to people that are kind of on the same wavelength.
Yes, we are. And it
Yeah,
feels like we are one big family, even
yeah.
though we 3 days ago we didn't know each other.
No, we didn't. We didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of I guess Zoom world these days is we can meet
Yeah,
anybody anywhere, and it's a beautiful thing.
that's right. And I am down in Florida enjoying warmth, and I don't know how is the Ohio these days.
It was really good for a while, but today it is, as I look out the window, it is kind of rainy and a little overcast and about 50 degrees. Probably going to go a little bit below 50 today. But yeah, I got out earlier and enjoyed the weather when it was a little bit better, but it's okay. It's better than Chicago weather, so I'll
Oh,
take
that's
it.
for sure.
That's a
Yeah.
step up. Definitely a step
Chicago
up.
can be very cold. Yes, I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so in your bio, you really didn't tell me much about yourself. And I usually like to go back a little bit to find out what you were when you were growing up, what did you always want to do and did you
Yeah.
get to do it or not and how the life treated you because eventually we arrived at some destination, but that wasn't straight path usually. You
Yeah.
have been a broker before, but did you do anything else before that? Can you share with us what did you want to do when you grow up?
Yeah, it's funny how we make all these plans, these big plans for our life, and sometimes we get them and sometimes we don't. And
That's
I
true.
think growing up, it's funny. I really wanted to. I wanted to be a doctor. At one point, I really
Oh,
wanted to be a doctor, and until I got to sophomore year of high school, when I really didn't like biology class, I'm like, I'm not doing
oh,
this. I did okay in the class, but I didn't really enjoy it. And then the talk around the high school is, oh, chemistry is so hard and physics is even harder. And it was like, oh no. I kind of passed that up. But I did definitely a few things. I loved working in the grocery industry when I was in high school. That was a lot of
okay.
fun.
Yeah.
It was a great way to get some spending money and just feel like I'm contributing. I came from a big family, eight of us growing
Oh,
up,
wow.
in one family, and I was the youngest, so I was just following in the bigger brothers' footsteps. Two of them also worked in the grocery industry, but we never
Hmm.
worked together. We all
You
worked at
only
different
have
grocery.
brothers?
I had three
It's oh,
sisters and
oh, okay.
four brothers,
Oh,
but
wow.
we all worked at grocery stores, but none of us worked at the same grocery store, so that was kind of
What type
fun.
of work? Anything? Cashier?
Um, you know what?
Filling?
No, they put me in the produce department. So
Okay.
I was always, stocking up the fruits and vegetables and cleaning up the produce rack and making displays and, you know,
Yeah.
uh, picking up big boxes of 50 pounds of potatoes, sacks and stuff. And,
Yeah.
it was good work. It was a
That
lot of
works
fun.
well when you are young, right? We don't
Yeah,
we
exactly.
don't feel
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
No, no, you're the one that can do it, and so you just do it, and yeah, and so I
I
did
think
that.
those are great jobs to even learn to deal with people and deal with, customer service because it's not always as easy as it sounds, or not everybody is not pleasant to deal with. They can be
Yes,
frustrated and they can teach you that, oh, well, people can be upset and treat you badly. How do
yeah,
you deal with that?
definitely that was definitely the case because sometimes you dealt with some clients, especially when you run out of stuff and you don't have access to it. But it was a really good learning experience. I made a lot of good friends working in that industry because we were all the same age, all going to different schools. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, that was kind of what I did and graduated from high school hoping to go to college, and I did. I did go to the University of Illinois for 1 year, and then I started my sophomore year and got sick.
Hmm.
I believe it was mononucleosis, although the blood test never came back as it, but I was not well. And
Wow.
it was interesting at that point. My mom had moved, and so I withdrew from the university and then moved back home. And we were kind of living in a we were kind of going from place to place for a while until we settled down. But I did graduate from college. It just took me a little bit longer than most people.
Yeah.
But I kept going and kept going and went at night and worked full time most of the time.
Did you have a clearer idea what subject you want to
You
study?
know, yeah, I mean, I wanted to be then I wanted to be an accountant and work
Hmm.
with numbers and because I was always pretty good with math and stuff. But I ended up I ended up then at the Chicago Board of Trade. I got hired by one of my friends to be his clerk, and then learned the ropes of being a runner, as they call them, running from the pit to the trading desks.
Yeah.
And then they called it. Then I moved up to being a trade checker, so I was checking everybody's trades. And then after I finished that, I became what they call an arbitrage clerk, where I would stand behind my brokers and and do hand signals. We did hand signals to our customers at the trading
Oh,
desks.
wow.
So I had to learn like a new language in terms of hand signals, and then our business grew. So then I got my broker's license. So I got to turn in towards the pit and yell and scream. I tell people, they say, "Oh, what'd you do at the Chicago Board of Trade?" And I would say, "I just yelled and screamed for a living and jumped up and down, and they paid me."
I
You
think
know,
we have
And-
seen those pictures in the movies, what
yeah.
it involves, but what does it really involve?
Yeah, yeah. It was organized chaos, but it was a lot of fun. It was hectic. It was scary at times. It was
Very stressful, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yes, very, very stressful. And and then you're standing in a pit and you're like there's not a lot of room for everybody. You can't just you just can't move around like this. You're literally shoulder to shoulder with people in front of you, directly in front of you, and your clerks right behind you. And so not a lot of movement. So you couldn't get out, you just couldn't run around and jump out of the pit when you wanted
So
to.
I'm still not sure what that position requires. What do? You invest money for people, or what does broker do?
So the broker is actually the person that executes the trade. So you have say you have desk clerks, and those desk clerks are were the Merrill Lynch's and the different companies. Way back, it was like E.F. Hutton and Dean Witter, and they've got clients overseas or wherever they are at, and um, they're trading options on treasury notes or treasury bonds. And all I had to do was learn how to fill the order, as they call it, fill the order, meaning I
Hmm.
needed to know what the future market was doing, whether it was going up or down. And, we had different types of options orders that I had to know, as the market went up or what going down, was my order getting close to being filled?
Hmm.
And then at that point, when you see it getting close, you start calling out for the option for the, whatever you're holding in your hand, whatever order you're holding in your hand, if it's close, you're yelling and screaming it out, whether you're buying or selling. So
Wow.
that's really kind of what it was. You had to really understand
Yeah.
how the market would work up and down and what your order is. So I was not trading my own money. I was trading, filling an order for for a client of these big
Oh,
banks and stuff. So, yeah, I
wow.
didn't really have to, but I did still have to have some understanding of what they're doing and why they were doing it.
Yeah.
Um, but it wasn't affecting me. I was just being paid on the execution of the order. And
Did you enjoy it?
I did at times, but I tell you, when there was when the market crashes, I was there at, when October 19th of 19, I believe it was 1997,
Hmm.
or when it was the soccer market crashed for the first time. That was quite and I was a clerk at that point, but it was quite stressful
Yeah.
because you really had to make sure every trade matched up with the other person that was on the other side of the trade, whether you bought something or sold something. You just had to
Yeah.
make sure, because that you could really lose your life, your life savings if you didn't. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's that's why I asked if you were actually investing money for clients, because that gotta be super stressful if the market does unpredictable things and suddenly the clients start losing and they
yeah,
start panicking and they go
yeah,
after you, and it's like I'm only imagining. I have never been involved in this. I have no clue. Like I
yeah,
said, like you see stuff in the movies which is
yeah,
close or not so close to reality, but it's
yeah.
kind of fun to hear it from somebody who was right there.
Yeah, it was. I remember, and I did it for I did it for 16 years, and I just felt at one point I just had to walk away, just because the stress level can get to you at times,
Mm,
and it it just wasn't, I guess, fun anymore at that
yeah,
point, and felt that I was uh just lost my interest in doing
just
it.
burned you
And
burned you out
yeah,
without
yeah,
even
there was a
knowing. Mm,
definitely a burnout period.
yeah,
And it, funny as it is, when you're doing something like that, your body starts responding, and immediacy. It's like you need to do everything so quickly and so fast, and that almost translates in your life. So
yeah.
you jump in your car, you got to be the first one at home, or you go to a restaurant and you're like, where's the waiter? Where's the waitress? I want,
Impatience with
you,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it took about 5 months really for my body to like just get back to a normal pace in life,
Hmm.
where you're just kind
That's
of a normal and just, like how you can get when you go on vacation. It's like, okay,
yeah. You
I'm just
you are forced to
relaxing.
slow down. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
So I
so,
assume at that time you didn't know anything about like relaxing methods or like calming yourself down, with meditation or anything like that. I guess that was not
yeah.
in at that time, right?
Yeah, and I really didn't know anybody at that point. But what we did do, a lot of us did do, is way back then we lived right near a racquetball court or a tennis facility, racquetball court. So a lot of us played racquetball right after we get off when I took the train back and
Hmm.
down, and we'd go there, get there about 3:30, and we would play racquetball till for a couple hours, and that kind of got that stress and that adrenaline kind of out of
Yeah,
you because by the time you're done, you were exhausted. And
at
so
least that. Yeah, hey, that
that
kind of get the aggravation out too.
yeah, that helped. That helped a
Yeah,
lot. And
yeah.
so we did a lot of that. We did, we would play sports, we would play golf, we would do things that just kind of hopefully got us relaxed and outside in the, you know, just outside,
Hmm.
enjoying nature. So
Yeah, I think that's the most important part that we keep forgetting about. Yeah.
yeah.
So there was a moment when you started experiencing some really significant health issues.
Yeah, I was struggling with a bunch of things growing up, and I remember the one thing that really I struggled with a lot was springtime allergies, and it was just miserable.
Hmm.
I remember, just in high school alone, I grew up really close to the golf course, and I wanted a caddy, and I just could not stop sneezing. I mean, my nose would run, my eyes would just blur up and get itchy. And
Yeah.
it was like the first conscious thing I would do when I woke up was sneeze 10 times. So that had always been with me for as long as I can remember. And we grew up in an area where even though it was a city, a lot of trees in the neighborhood, a lot of open fields with trees and such.
Mm.
And the grass, I think, was one of the allergens that was really bad for me, and tree pollen. And so that I struggled with for about 50 years.
What
That
did you
was,
do about it? Did you take
uh,
something?
I just did what my mom told me at that point. It was just buy the over-the-counter um, decongestants and
Mm.
allergy medicines. And for the eyes, you'd put the Visine in, and to the nose sprays, and you name it, I did it. And it would last for about, from like about April when the trees would start to
The
drop on
season.
their
Yeah.
pollen and the grass would grow, but till about July 4th. And then after that, it seemed like I was fine.
Mm.
But for those 3 months, it was just miserable. Most of the time I sat in air conditioning just to get out of it. But I remember it was just miserable.
It
Um,
probably prevents you from playing sports and being outside much more and stuff. Yeah.
a little bit. I still did it, but it was like I would have to run inside, and I would constantly be in like take warm showers to clean myself off and
Hmm.
clean out my sinuses and stuff. But it was, and that stuff, that those over the counter stuff really just kind of dried me up. It
Yeah.
wasn't, I just did, what I knew,
Well, that was
until,
the common knowledge for most people. Like, what else can you do, right? You
yeah.
just take whatever.
And I did advance too, because I remember going to work one day, and one of the other traders said to me, he goes, you look miserable. You should go to my allergist. Okay, so I
Mm.
went to his allergist. They did the allergy test, and then they give you all the allergy, tests on I think it was on my back, on my chest, on my arms, and confirmed that there was 5 things I was allergic to, and then started getting the allergy shots for a very long time. And
Oh, wow.
um, that became scary because one of the my very first times getting my allergy shots, the nurse actually gave me the concentration that was one higher than I was supposed to get,
Oops.
and had an immediate reaction where I had the anaphylactic shock, I believe it was, where my throat was closing up, my face was just exploding. It just was,
Oh, my.
and
That's
luckily the doctor
terrible.
was there, because it was for the next 3 hours. It was a combination of Benadryl and epinephrine. Benadryl, epinephrine. They just kept, And finally, after about 3 hours, they drove me home. They wouldn't let me drive, so they
Oh,
drove me home.
wow.
So
Yeah, you were
there was
probably
this.
drowsy.
Well, yeah, and if I had gone home by myself, I wouldn't have had anybody to, I didn't have an EpiPen, I didn't have anything. I didn't realize that was a an effect of taking those. But I did follow the rules there. So that was like one of the things that I just accepted as being normal,
Mm.
and it's as I look back, we just did what was known,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
science didn't have what we needed to some of the things that we know now.
But
Uh,
it's so many people follow the traditional path because they don't know any better, and
mhm.
it's not their fault. They are not exposed to other alternative ways to treat symptoms. But I'm assuming your family wasn't about that either. You probably, if there was issue, you went to doctor and just do what needed to be done, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what we did. That we, there was no, you know, like I said, yeah, we only knew what we knew. And, we had a family doctor that we had a family doctor way when I was young that actually came over to the house.
Yeah,
One of those,
me
that's back
too.
way back when they used to
Home
do
visits.
home
Yeah.
visits. Because
Hmm.
there was eight of us. There was eight kids at that point. And
Yeah.
so
That was
when
worth
one,
his time.
yeah, you're right. So when one got sick, we all got
Mhm.
sick. And so
But can
it
I
was
ask you a personal question?
absolutely.
You repeatedly referred to your mom. Was dad not in the picture with eight?
Um, my father had passed when I was young, so
Oh,
he had
I'm so
passed of
sorry.
was best basic 1971 of
Wow.
esophageal cancer. So
Oh, I'm so
so
sorry to hear that.
mom raised me and all the rest. I think the age range was when I was 7, my oldest sister was 18. So there's like
Oh,
11-year
wow.
age difference, 11 and a half, something
That's
like that. So
unimaginable.
yeah.
Eight kids by
Yeah.
herself. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
gosh.
there were some chaotic days and nights I remember.
Well, I bet that's, oh, wow.
But we did like, normal. We did what we knew what we can do, and we all pitched in
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
helped out, and that's what we knew, and it
Wow.
was fun. There was some fun moments growing up. There really was. Despite,
Well, it's a
that
big family. Yeah.
yeah,
I am
yeah.
youngest of four, and that was enough to to deal with. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me about you. You were going crazy in the trader world and jumping up and down and doing all this stuff. And then what? Now, when you felt like you are kind of fed up with that, what did you decide to do next?
Well, what I decided to do next was while I was working at the Chicago Board of Trade, I always thought about doing something on the side, and I always wanted to get my college degree. I always wanted to. So I
Hmm.
did go. I mean, it took me 20 years to graduate college, but I went at night, and
Hmm.
I took one or two classes per semester, and just kept grinding it out. And so, in 2002, I actually graduated with a degree in finance. But
Wow.
also, I what I did is there was a lot of during the 2000s or the 1990s and the 2000s. There's a lot of interest in real estate, and a lot of my friends who were municipal workers, they were policemen and firemen for the city of Chicago. They got their commercial and residential real estate appraising license.
Hmm.
There's a lot of home sales going on and stuff, and
Yeah.
I thought maybe I'll learn that too. So I did learn it. I did get my certification to do residential and commercial real estate appraising, and so I always had my license. I didn't practice, but I kept it up. I kept doing the
You didn't
continuing
even start
education.
it?
I didn't even start it, but
Wow.
when I finally said enough is enough at the Chicago Board of Trade, it was
Hmm.
I still remember the day. It was June 16th of 2003. I just said,
Wow.
I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna just take a break. And I did. I took a break for 5 months. I didn't start working until November, and I knew some friends that owned I knew a friend that owned his own commercial real estate appraising company, and he took me on. He hired me, and it was interesting. It was what a complete opposite of things. So here I am jumping up and down in a
Yeah.
pit of hundreds of people, and the trading floor is huge, and there's all these different trading pits and all these people yelling and screaming. And then I
Oh,
go to working by myself in a cubicle. I would get a job. I would get assigned a job, maybe go see a 25,000 square foot warehouse or something. And I would go take my photos, do my inspection, take my notes, and then I would go to a Starbucks with my computer and put my headphones
that
on.
sounds
And
like sweet pace of,
yeah,
yeah.
it was different. It was definitely a different pace because I could,
Oh,
I had room. I could elbow room. I could and just kind of
oh,
slow down, and I did that for 12 years. And it
wonderful.
was it was an interesting career for a while, and a lot of uh, we worked in the elements. So when it was cold, people still needed their appraisal work
Yeah.
done, and so we would go out there, and we did a lot of the counties all around the city of Chicago, and I did a lot of driving, but it was good. It was a good thing. So I had learned that trade, and then I was able to use it. I did that
Mhm.
for again 12
Yeah.
years, like 12 years.
The math didn't get lost anywhere. Yeah.
No, no, yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I actually had to use my degree, in a little bit of that for finance, and
That's pretty
uh,
good because most
yeah,
people don't even use it ever when they take years to study and then they go and do something completely different. Yeah,
definitely.
when we spoke, I remember you mentioned that you had ongoing health issues,
Yeah.
different random issues. When did that start, or when did you start noticing that something was not right with you?
So, in addition to the allergies, the springtime allergies that I experienced for so long,
Mm-hmm.
I had growing up, we was very athletic growing up. We always played baseball, basketball. We even golfed a lot because we just had fun. We were all caddies growing up. But we also, a lot of us like to play ice hockey, and we organized a team, a men's team, one summer. And I believe it was the summer before I between senior year of high school and freshman year of college. And we loved playing, and we would play these late night games, and I was playing in that game, and I got injured pretty quickly in the game.
Mm-hmm.
If you're familiar with hockey, somebody cross-checked me in the back with their stick, and
I
I
came from country that hockey is like national sport. You kidding?
oh yeah, beautiful,
A
yeah. So
lot
you
of Czech
understand it.
players are in NHL.
Yes, yes, they're some of the best. Oh my God, I grew up watching the Chicago Blackhawks and enjoying that. But, it was one of those things that, I got hit from behind, and I tried
Mhm,
to hold myself up. I grabbed the boards, and the next thing I know, the guy kind of falls on me at the same time. He fell over, and something happened to my lower back on my right side. And,
mhm.
but I'm 19, I'm invincible, right? And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
continue to play and continue to play and do my thing until, you wake up the next morning and you can barely get out of bed. And the pain was there. And I was a broke college student. I didn't really go to the doctor and say, okay,
Hmm.
what do I do now? Or go to the ER. And I just endured. And I just did what like normal, you go to the Walgreens or the drugstore, and you buy the over-the-counter medications, the pain
Hmm.
meds. Boy, I'm going to age myself here. You use Bengay and all these other things that are, to help you out. I think I even bought a Velcro back brace,
Hmm.
because it was just very,
Yeah,
it was just one of those things. Okay, I wanted it.
you do
I
what
couldn't,
you need to do. Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't straighten up really well, and so I endured that for a long time, and I really didn't go to the doctor. I just
Oh
didn't.
boy.
And until one day, about 5 years later, I was just not feeling good and looking good. And somebody it was at a family gathering, and the future brother-in-law of my sister-in-law, I did not know, was an osteopathic doctor. He was a resident, osteopathic resident, and he looked at me and he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I just
Yeah.
told him, I said, he goes, "Hey, get out, get down on the floor." Now I have no idea what he's going to do, and he starts adjusting me right on the
Hmm.
floor, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is great. What did you do?" And so I felt better, but then he asked me the questions. What did you do? How long ago did this happen? And I told him, "Oh, it was 5 years ago." And he goes, 5 years ago, and you're just getting it looked at now? And I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah." I said, I didn't have the money to go to the ER or to the doctor." And he said, "Oh boy, he said, this, what I did to you is not going to last." He said, "Your right side is so tight, those muscles."
Yeah.
And so at that point, I was making money, and I was taking a lot of the over-the-counter type medications to take away the pain and the inflammation. And I was using um, I was just using the over-the-counter Aleve and Tylenols and whatever I could.
Yeah.
And it just never went away. It was always there. And, you'd go to bed at night and you'd wake up because there was, a twinge or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I lived. And as I continued at the Chicago Board of Trade and started making money, I started trying new things.
So you were
I
kind of like learning to live with it. There was,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
that's
know,
really not a good way.
no, I think we accept things as we get older, and just because
Yeah.
we don't know what we don't know again, and so we just accept this is going to be my normal, and I have to get used to it. And
Hmm.
but I continued to. There was something in me that said, just keep looking, keep searching. So I did a lot of chiropractic work. I did have to get pharmaceutical meds at some point when it got too
Hmm.
bad.
Yeah.
I tried different therapies from uh, physical therapy. Did that for a long time. Um, I did um, I did personal training. I thought, oh, I'll just hire a personal trainer and see if he can get that. And it's a lot of the exercise they made me do. The area would just pop out, and it would be,
Yeah.
oh, I'm back to square one again.
I I don't know if you know, I had three back surgeries
Oh,
myself, and
wow.
when you say personal trainer, I was lucky enough, and that's back 2014, 15, that
Okay.
I found for the first time a personal trainer who was specializing in people with medical challenges because I couldn't go just lift weights.
Yeah.
It was impossible. I was told never to lift anything again. But it's you have to have somebody who he had background in physical therapy. He understood the body like nobody I met. He
Yeah.
knew how to adjust things, how to not aggravate things because he had to work with what I have. I already had screws in my lumbar.
Oh,
So I
wow.
couldn't do my lower part of the spine wouldn't bend normally. So we have to work
Hmm.
around it to kind of build my legs and my muscles to take the stress off the back. So I absolutely I can feel you because the trainers, it needs to be very specialized trainer to know what he's doing.
I remember, hiring a friend of mine who, wife, who was a personal trainer, because she was there at the uh, facility that I worked out at. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
there's Kathy. Okay, maybe I hire her. And I told her about the issue, and I think she thought, she knew enough that she
Mm.
could help me. She didn't realize the extent of it, and I guess I didn't either, because it was never getting better. And
Well,
but
and
I
when you
try
keep
I tried.
challenging it, it actually aggravates it even more if when you don't know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was wearing the back brace, but I was still an athlete. I was still trying to play, trying to match up with my friends and play softball and play golf, but I was always on medication. I was always on an over-the-counter medication.
Yeah.
And it was like a yo-yo. You're up and down, up and down. And when it wore off, the inflammation continued, and then the
Yeah.
discomfort. But I even used magnet therapies. I would put a magnet on my back, literally tape a magnet on my back, and to use that to get some of that discomfort that I was experiencing, especially when I'm standing in a trading pit and I can't leave. And I had magnets in my shoes, and I was trying that, and
That that's
then
long standing definitely didn't help. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. So I was, then you're buying these specialized shoes to
mhm,
stand in too that would contour. You'd get the orthotics, whatever it was. I was trying little things that, that might help me. I even tried this medical procedure called prolotherapy.
mm,
And it was recommended to me in 2001. And that procedure, they do a series of shots into the area that is of concern.
mhm.
And I remember the very first time I went, and they gave me 80 shots in my lower back, like all
Oh,
up and down the spine in that SI joint area,
yes.
on my hips. And it was, like, whoa. And I remember squeezing those rubber balls they made you squeeze in your hand, as they're doing this. And I did that procedure 12 years in a row.
Oh
Um,
my Lord.
and
Wow.
it never really helped. I mean, at one point it, felt better, but it never stuck.
Do you
It
know
just,
what was in those shots? Mm,
they told me it was some safe things, but at times they actually, later on they started using, human growth hormone because the idea was to the problem that I was facing, yes, I had some herniations and some discs. I had tilted pelvis. The SI joint was knocked around, and but they told me that my issue was that the tendons and ligaments that were surrounding those joints were like the elastic that no longer holds up your socks. And so my back, that lower area, was very hypermobile, and there
mhm.
wasn't anything to hold it in there. And those prolotherapy was designed to strengthen those tendons and ligaments. And in my case, it didn't happen. I
Wow.
know it did happen. It helped others. It just didn't
12
happen.
years.
Yeah, 12 years from 2001 until 2000, and I think it was the last one I did was 2012. So it was like 12 years in a row. Yeah.
Wow, you gave
Um,
it very honest chance for sure.
Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, because there wasn't anything else. There just
Yeah.
really wasn't anything else, and unfortunately, the end of 2008, I was actually in my home. It was right around Thanksgiving, and like you grew up in a big family. We didn't use a lot of cups and stuff to get drinks of water. I just turned on my bathroom sink, the hot cold
Mm.
water, and I tilted. And as soon as I tilted to get it popped out again, and this time it
Ouch.
was very severe. The joint area there just swelled up, and I was stuck. I was tilted and shifted, and that was for like 2 months. And this time, the doctor that I was going to said you need to go to a surgeon. And
Mm.
so I was, I guess I was relieved at that point. Okay, now it's going to finally get taken care of. But in order for me to get to that point where I'm in the surgeon's office, I had to do 2 months of physical therapy. It took about, I want to say, a month for the other doctor, the osteopath, to actually get me aligned,
Yeah.
that joint area. And it took pharmaceutical medications at that point. It took, muscle relaxers. It took pain pills, and that was not fun
Yeah.
because you really can't function on those very well and do your job. So, uh, I took a lot of time off, but here I am now. It's the end of January, and I'm sitting in the surgeon's office, and he asks me, "Hey, do you have pain radiating down your right leg?" As he's looking at his computer and looking through the MRI and the X-rays,
Mm.
and I said, "I don't." And his comment was, "I can't help you." And it was like, well, what are my options? I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And his comments back to me, or his recommendations was, hey, you can continue to do physical therapy, or you can come back to me in 10 years and we can do a fusion. And I'm like, that's it? I got to come back to you. I got to endure this for another 10 years.
Why not? Why not then? Did you ask him?
I did. He said we don't have, he said, what you're experiencing as those tendons and ligaments. And he said, we don't have a way of strengthening them.
Mm.
And so, um, but he said, I don't, he said, you're too young to do a fusion. at that point. And I'm like, well, thank you. Appreciate that. But
Yeah, that wasn't my case.
yeah, yeah. I know
Well,
it's funny. Here you are. You
oh,
think you're at the very end of the thing that you need to get well again.
mm,
And then you get deflated because
yeah.
the surgeon says, I can't do it because it wouldn't, I don't think it would work.
Well, it
That,
was probably a responsible thing for him to say because, there's so many failed surgeries that, and I
because we're
think it
not,
was
yeah.
honesty on his part that he refused to do surgery just for the sake of it. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And as one of my friends says, we don't have any windows to look inside. We don't have windows, so we can't really tell. We have to
true.
rely on
Yeah.
whatever the diagnostic,
So what did you
tests are.
do? What did you do then?
Oh, you know what? I was kind of frustrated, and I just continued to do what I was doing at that point, which was my focus was, I would go to a chiropractor, and it seemed like I think it was like between 3 and 10 times a month, depending upon how I felt or depending upon what was going on in my life. If I
Yeah,
was stressed out or if I, I would sit in a chair and get up out of a chair and it would pop out, or I would get out of a car um, and same thing, and it would pop out. I'd be walking up an incline, just doing walking and up an
yeah.
incline, and it would pop out. So there was times that just I didn't have any control. So I
And you are in your
did
40s then,
at
right?
that point, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
in 2009, yeah, I'm 45 at that
yeah.
point, and
That's a not really great quality of life when you ask me.
no, no, and again, it was more. I was 19 at then, so at that point, it was about 26 years of I had this issue for longer than I was, that I didn't have the issue.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
I didn't see a way out. I didn't see a way of it getting any better, although I just continued to try other things. I worked with a couple of different chiropractors. I my main, I guess, medicine of choice was a leaves. So I
hmm.
would take, you're not supposed to take more than one or two. I would take three
Oh,
sometimes to get
yeah.
through the day, and that was not right. But
What
um,
about side effects?
not that I remember, although I very well could have been. I just don't remember anything
Yeah,
out of the ordinary. And it wasn't every day that I would take three, but there were some days it just was, I'd get up and just down the three with the glass of water and go to work and endure. And
yeah,
I did some subconscious mind work with a couple of different practitioners because I was just looking for other ways.
yeah. Well,
And
it can easily get really depressing when you live with pain and it affects everything in your
yes,
life. I speak from my own experience, and unfortunately, my husband also was dealing with a lot of discomfort throughout his whole life, and once in a while it would get bad, and once in a while it was semi okay, but it would still prevent him from normal enjoyment of life, which is really not the way to live for a long time. That's 26
yeah,
years is a long time,
yeah,
that's for sure.
yeah. And
Wow.
then it was like, when is it going to stop?
Yeah,
When will it stop,
when
or
you
will it,
don't see
will
the
it
light
stop?
at the end of the tunnel, that's the worst part.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
at
I
least
certainly
I had
wasn't.
my surgeries, and I thought, after that, after the first two, I came completely back to normal.
Hmm.
I was not on medication. I was back to normal, which was good and bad thing, because the bad thing was that you kind of forget that you had the issue and you are acting normally and you are not
Yeah,
careful enough, which
yeah,
causes new problems to happen, because of course it's affected because it had some invasive work done there, so
yeah,
you need to be careful, but I wasn't, yeah, unfortunately. Well,
yeah,
oh my gosh, so that's
yeah.
that's really quite an ordeal. That I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm triggering you. You're
No,
reliving what
no,
happened to
no.
you. But
I'm good. No, it's
yeah,
just
good.
I just relate, to
Yeah.
you, because I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's awful, and so many people believe that there is no way out. They just keep
Hmm.
getting used to it, which is not life, of course. And we
Yeah.
both know that it only become worse with age, because all
Yeah.
these things, they don't, not only they don't go away long term, but they become worse as we age, and the body has even worse mobility and worse,
Yeah.
options to deal with the issues. But
Yeah.
so that kind of brings me to, where were you when this company ASEA that we both work with since me for 4 years now, when it crossed your path? How did you get introduced to that? How did you discover this?
Well, I'll go back to 2005. I was introduced to my sponsor in ASEA, Dr. Weissman, Darren Weissman, and
Mhm.
Darren. I was reading a lot of books at that point, and there was a lot of books on human behavior and the mind, and because I was searching, I was like, okay, is this a mind over matter thing? Can I get beyond this?
Hmm.
And he had a really interesting book that was recommended to me called The Power of Infinite Love and Gratitude,
Wow.
and I read the book and I couldn't put it down. I was reading a lot of books and I could put down a lot of books. I couldn't put this book down because it was addressing a lot of things that I was experiencing at that point, like
Mhm.
how to address discomfort and how to address different health situations or challenges. And so I got bold and I looked at back of the book and there was his email and I sent him an email and I'd never done that. And it was about 45 minutes later, I get a reply from him.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow. And he says, hey, yeah, I can help you with some of your things. Where do you live? And I said, I live in Chicago. And he's like, oh, so do I. I live right north of Chicago. And it was at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to him and made an appointment. And he's a chiropractor by trade, but there's all these other things that he was learning and he had picked up in his journey in health as a health practitioner. And from 2005 until 2016, when I moved here to Columbus, Ohio, he had been one of my practitioners. And, um, we worked a lot on subconscious mind stuff. And every once in a while, he had to adjust me.
Yeah.
And then, so now I'm here in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know anybody. I don't have any practitioners. I find a couple of different chiropractors um, to just try their services out and wasn't really getting anywhere.
Hmm.
And just so happened, I just thought of Darren, or I believe I thought of Darren, and kind of was triggered because a song came on the radio that we like music, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna contact Darren, and I sent him a text, and immediately he called me.
That's the
Uh,
doctor.
yeah, Dr. Darren, he was in the Chicago area, and so out of sight, out of mind. I hadn't talked to him in like more than a year, probably 15 months. And so this is actually March 21st. So it's like 2 days, 8 years, 2 days ago.
Hmm.
And I called him up, he called me up and he said, we just started just chatting about life. And, finally I just said, hey, Darren, I really need help. Is there anything out there that is, can help me with my back? I'm going to two different chiropractors and really not getting anywhere. And I don't really know anybody here in this area. And his response was, I found something. And I said, what is it? And he told me, he said, it's this liquid called ASEA.
Mhm.
And he didn't have time to talk to me because he was in between his patients. And so he put me on with his receptionist, and she got me help to start on this stuff. And I didn't know anything about what he was talking about. All I did was I trust him because he said he
Yeah.
found something. And so that was my introduction to ASEA.
Hmm.
It really wasn't an education. It really was just I trusted Darren enough because he was my friend, he was my practitioner to if he said he found something, I believed him. And so
And
I
you
just
also spend years testing different things that
yeah,
didn't really affect anything long term. Yeah.
yeah. So I was open at that point to just what's the next thing? Is there anything out there? And so what he was able to tell me, and this is I guess, his prescription to me was, I want you to drink 4 ounces of this stuff a day for the next 120 days and call me. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I can do that. I could do that. And I did. I got a subscription it and I drank 4 ounces a day and to follow the bottle, but I never researched it. I never knew what it was. I just
Hmm.
did it. There was, I at that point, I didn't care. I was always let down. So it didn't matter what it was.
Did you notice anything at the beginning at all?
Well, here's the thing. I was so hyper focused on, my back challenge
Yeah,
that's all I was focused on. And
yeah,
I knew there was things going on with me that I was almost willing to dismiss because I just wanted my back taken care of. But
yeah.
yeah, I could, and that was the conversation we had. The conversation we had was, Darren, I'm not doing this anymore because it's not working. And he knew enough about the product because he had been testing it with his inner circle. And at that point, he was sharing it with people.
How long were you taking it to this point?
So it was 4 months.
For months.
I believe, I started about April 1st of 2017, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's what, like August 1st at that point. And I just called him up and I said, it's not working. And he knew enough
Yeah.
to stop me and just say, hey, okay, what happened? You had 34 years of back pain. We only gave it 4 months. How much are you taking? And I told him 4 ounces. That's what you told me. So that's what I did. And he said, guy, buddy, he said, that's probably not enough. And I said,
Yeah.
well, I didn't know that I could take more. But I didn't ask and you didn't
Mhm.
tell me. So we
Yeah.
were, we were kind of going back and forth and,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but, but he knew enough about the product at that point because he had seen so much happen with some of his other patients that he said, okay, what did it do? And I could not deny that the first thing that I really experienced was a deep sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You don't sleep when you have a back issue. It just
Yeah.
when it's chronic that way, you don't sleep all night. And I was sleeping really well. Energy level was just really off the charts. I just didn't feel tired at all. The other thing I noticed was, my skin was like clearing up and just really looking like I don't know, I looked better, and that was really good. I had some skin tags that fell off. I had a mole that was on the side of my neck that fell off.
But of course,
Uh,
that's not what you were paying attention
I
to
was
because you were waiting for your big aha moment with your back. Yeah.
absolutely, and yeah, and all of these little things that were taking precedence over everything else. And I think I felt real peaceful and calm and brain fog. Like I was, because I was going to school, and at that point I was going back to school to get my master's degree. So I was always reading something, and things started to get clearer. And but I was still ready to quit. But I said, I'm going to stop here because the one thing that's my defining moment to continue to do this, because he said, hey, just give me a couple more months and we'll get this taken care of,
Yeah.
was, let's go back to the springtime allergies. I did not have one symptom
Hmm.
and I did not have one symptom, and I was not taking any over-the-counter medications. I
And
was
you were
not
at that
shots.
time period when it would normally kick in, right?
Yeah, it was like April 1st to July
Yeah.
4th, and I didn't have, and that baffled me. And I'm like, okay, this is what happened. And I told him, he said, and then he said, see, it's working.
Okay.
And then that's when I learned that he said, sometimes the things that we don't see are the priority that the body is taking care of.
Yeah.
And that kind of made sense.
Brett, this is a great moment for me to put a disclaimer in
Sure.
as because I want to make sure that everybody understands that this is for information only. The technology that we mentioned is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment of any disease or illness. These products do not treat, cure, heal, prevent, or diagnose any disease or medical condition. It's simply empowering the body to heal itself by increasing the cellular efficiency, functions, and communication. I just want to make sure that people understand we are not talking about any medication, about anything that it's supposed to be healing. This is not a medical recommendation, but
Mhm.
please continue because this is fascinating. You really didn't have significant shifts in the first 4 months, which is usually 90% of people they notice something significant within the first 90 days. But we also since know that if there is not a major shift right at the beginning, to double the dosage, because it's non-toxic. You can take as much as you want. And obviously for you, you were having significant issue for really long times.
Oh yeah, I mean it was fascinating, and so I agreed. He said, "Hey, give me 2 more months," and he said double the dose, and
Mhm.
I said, "Okay, I guess I'll try." I was like, and I'm disappointed at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do it, and then he suggested. He said, "Hey, have you tried the Renew 28 gel?" And I said, "What's that?"
Mhm.
I knew nothing about the
Right.
gel because I was just following some of his suggestions.
Mhm.
And so I went online and I got the gel with my order, and he told me how to use that and use it properly, and I did. I started applying it on my lower back, those areas of concern, and doubled my dose. It ordered another case, and within a month, it literally was within a month, I woke up and it was all gone. There was nothing there. There was no discomfort. There was movement. I'm like, I can't believe this. And then you wait the next day. You think it's going to come back, and
Yeah.
it's gone. And now 8 years later, well, 7.5, I guess, there's still no issue.
Oh,
But
wow.
it was a combination of adding the extra, doubling the dose, and
Mhm.
then using that renewed 28 gel, redox gel, on that area that really just basically, I guess, told my body to do what it was supposed to do.
It's kind
You know,
of more directive because, when we consume redox signaling molecules, they go everywhere, and your
yeah,
body decide what needs the priority first. But when you apply it from outside in, you are also helping to focus for your body to pay attention there. And it's what I love about it, because we both now understand how it works.
yeah,
What fascinates me and what sometimes people don't understand, uh, we are both people with significant back issues.
mhm,
Yet your lifestyle is different than mine. We have different age. I'm a woman, you are a man. We live in different environment. We may have different exposure to chemicals. All these things or stress are playing significant role in like human biology and
yeah,
biochemistry. So we both can consume the same product, even though even the same amount of what we drink, but my body would respond differently than yours. And that's what fascinates me, because people sometimes like, well, I want to try it, and if it doesn't work, it always works. It may
yeah,
take different time, or it may take different
right.
amount that you need,
Balance.
because you may have long-term issues that you don't even know about, because they didn't come up on the surface yet. You don't feel it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's that, one thing that I was fascinated to learn, when you start thinking about it deeply, none of our issues ever happen overnight.
Right.
When
Mm-hmm.
somebody has a heart attack, it didn't just happen.
Right.
It was in the making for several years, when the person didn't feel anything. They kept continuing with the diet that maybe was not ideal, or the stress that we are exposed to that is really capable of killing us. And
Yeah.
and we think that we are from metal and we can just power through it and deal with it just like you did with your
Yeah.
back. It's just you tried as hard as you could to live normal life, even though it was challenging. So what sometimes take my breath away, that people have these issues for years and years and years, and
Mhm.
then within 2 weeks they decide if something works or not.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when it's not like quick fix, it's not working. Yet we
Yeah.
know it works 100% of the time. You may just need little more workers there, or you
Yeah.
may need a longer time to have the work done, but the body knows how to do it, how to bring you back to optimal health. It may just take time. Mm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we don't know what we don't know. And I love your what you said earlier is like, you and I have could be the same age, the same, yet we might require a different amount to
Yeah,
get the the what we're seeking. I guess the optimal health that we're seeking
yeah.
in ourselves.
And also, I'm a woman. My hot flashes were gone within first 7 days. You don't have
Wow.
that issue, so
No,
you would never
no,
experience that. But that's the
no.
point when your body does the work. It's not the ASEA Redux that does a job.
Yeah.
It's it's the tools that you give to your body because the Redux is already in us from conception. That's
Yeah.
how our cells communicate always. We just start losing it with age. And so if we replenish, we simply replenish what the body is losing over time. And suddenly that optimal healing potential of your body kicks in, and now the body knows where the problem is and how what to do with it. It's one of the doctors I had on podcast once said the body cannot fix what the body doesn't know about. And that's
Yeah.
exactly, it's kind of like when you have a cell phone, and it could be the most modern, the most expensive, the perfect in gold, whatever. If you don't have signal, you have a nice camera in your hand because you can make a phone call, nobody can hear you, you can reach for help. It's,
Yeah.
when you are in some area where there is no signal, you are screwed. You can't do anything. And that's
Yeah.
kind
You're
of,
right.
when you imagine, that's kind of what's happening in our body, that we get to point when the body is not capable of making the connection because the signal goes lower and lower and lower. So we are just recharging the batteries, kind of like the communication system of the body.
Sometimes I tell people like like just imagine being like you own a factory and you have to put out all this output and you have 100 factory workers and every year you you fire 10%, you fire 10% of the
Yeah,
workforce,
yeah,
but you expect the work to get done, the same output, you got to do the same output. And at some point, that if you as you keep firing, your workers every year, you know, there's going to be disruptions and order flows or
yeah.
the process of making it and a lot of frustration and you're just your your business isn't going to function properly as you keep getting rid of and that's kind of like us as
That's
we
a
are
good
aging.
metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah, our potential continues to decrease and we keep getting and here's the thing too. We keep getting bombarded by, the environmental and
Yeah.
toxins in the
Yeah.
air, our water, the EMFs in the air, you know, toxic relationships, maybe we're not functioning well in a family situation or a friend
Yeah.
situation or a work situation. And,
And
it
we
just
don't
kind of
get
brings
enough
them.
quality nutrition because our food is being manipulated and
Yes,
it's depleted of the nutrition that body needs, because this ASEA redox has nothing to do with nutrition. This
nutrition.
is
Yeah,
biochemistry of your body. It's not, it doesn't have any nutritional value.
mhm,
But we also get less and less from quality food, even when you eat organic and you really eat your vegetables and you eat a lot of protein and quality protein. The soil is being depleted. It's
yeah.
what we used to get from one apple. Now you would have to have four or five to get the same amount of vitamins. It's really scary because I even
Mhm.
heard somebody saying that the amount of toxins that we are exposed to every single day these days, from, like you said, water pollution, the pesticides, everything that we are surrounding by breathing in, cosmetics, that's the amount of our ancestors were exposed in their entire lifetime.
Life.
And we are
Yeah.
now exposed to the same amount within a day.
Hmm.
So obviously the body has to adjust big time to be able to combat all that and keep us semi-functioning. And yeah, like you said, and then add the stress and add everything else. And it's a miracle that we are still functioning semi
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, our bodies are continually trying to fight. And another thing that we didn't discuss is, what are in the chemicals that we're putting on our body and our shampoos and body washes and whatever the other chemicals, deodorant and toothpaste and stuff. Those also have chemical disrupt, that will disrupt the body's function.
Yeah,
And
they disrupt hormones
yeah,
genetically. Yeah, and we don't even know that because they are approved as
yeah,
safe, right, for human consumption. Even cosmetics. When you mentioned that, I know that in America we have about 1,500 more approved ingredients that are normally used in cosmetics compared to Europe.
yeah.
In Europe, it's very much stricter, and so that means it's dangerous. But yet, FDA here is not concerned about those. So I'm hoping that things may change in that department, hopefully. But it's big. It's been really big eye opener when you start paying attention. No wonder we are so much sicker as a society, even though we have the most advanced medical system and drugs
Mhm.
for everything. And you get to point like where you were, it's not for surgery, is any manipulations or anything may offer like short-term relief, but it's
Yeah.
not really solution. And it remains puzzle because nobody can help you. And I remember when I gave up on my so-called pain management after the third surgery. So I already had three surgeries that were supposed
Wow.
to help me, right?
Hmm.
And the third one didn't end up so well. And so it continued with two plus more years of different therapies and acupuncture and physical therapy
Hmm.
and therapy in the pool and all this. I've tried so many things. And then I realized, like you, this is a nonsense because it wasn't even relieving me, even like short term. If there was any relief, it would be very short lived. So I have to keep doing that, and it wasn't without side effects, and I knew the side effects by then. And so for me to discover something that actually helps, and it doesn't only offer relief but also recovery, because eventually your body has enough of that labor to work with
Hmm.
that it can start repairing the issue why that warning signal is there in the first place. So it's a big game changer, and people underestimate the power of that, because you can, of course, you can keep popping pills and it may
Hmm.
destroy your digestive system, and you may have different now new issues that the first pill caused, and now you have to be on another pill to take care of
Yeah.
those, and it's going nowhere. It's really like when you have the computer and you can replace the memory and you can add this and you can get super speed Wi-Fi, but if your operation system is older and it's just going down, none of these additions matter. People keep replacing parts, but if that operation system is still slowing down and it's not effective,
Yeah.
then eventually it's not working properly. And so for me, it's been eye-opening because uh, I had limited resources, just like you. I had limited ways that I can still affect it. And I was told by doctors, your body did all the healing possible, and this is your new normal. Adjust your
Hmm.
lifestyle to it. And I had no lifestyle. I
Yeah.
couldn't sit for half an hour. We are now recording this podcast over an hour and something,
Oh, wow.
and I'm sitting with, you know, relatively okay. That I couldn't drive distance. I couldn't sit through dinner with friends. It was big effect on my life. I lost my job because of it, then my business, and I had no social life because everything has to adjust to my needs. And
Hmm.
it, if I didn't want to be on pills long term, then I had to live with it, which is no life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really affects everything. And once it affects something in it then it gets on our mental, we
Yeah.
start, then we limit our what we're doing, like you were saying. I
Yeah.
can't do this for this long, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain things that I remember um, I couldn't do, but I didn't want to do either. Like a fast roller coaster. I'm not a good roller coaster person, but I
Mm.
knew that the quick movements,
Yeah.
might do something that would limit me.
Yeah, you don't want to put yourself in that situation. But it's a big thing that not many people talk about when you are relatively healthy or nothing is going on significant. The happiness in life is so important because you may
Mhm.
have everything you ever wanted. If you're not happy, it
Mhm.
takes a lot. And I know a lot of people that make a lot of money, they are successful in their careers, yet sometimes their relationship suffers or something is missing and they don't know what it is. And I think that's kind of also what we both found in this kind of like new purpose in life, because
Yeah.
you and I, we don't have to be doctors, but we can still, with the sharing our story, we can help somebody else who may be suffering with similar issues, and they are looking for answers, just like you were looking years back when you didn't know anything can help you and you had no hope in front of you.
Yeah.
And living without hope is really, really struggling big time.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, that was, and I remember back then I just couldn't, like 8 years ago, or I'm just like I can't believe that this isn't come it's not coming back, it
Yeah.
didn't come back, and
When did you, at what point did you decide to start sharing it with other people to get involved as a business?
it took me a while to start sharing it, and the reason is because I was in a brand new city. I'm 2 states over, and I
Mhm.
didn't know anybody, and I didn't really, I didn't have a network of people that I knew that I could share it with. Wasn't going to church at that point.
Mm.
I wasn't getting out there. But I think what the defining moment for me to share was, um, we have my family has a Christmas party every December, and my oldest sister has been hosting this party for it's now over 40 years.
Mhm.
And so, sight unseen, I hadn't seen my sister since it was Christmas of 2016.
Oh, wow.
And so now I start on the redox about April 1st, and then I go back home for her Christmas party. And I wasn't there for a long time. I probably showed up on a Friday to the Chicago area and left on Sunday morning. So I was only at her house maybe 3 to 10, maybe 7 hours. And so the next morning, Sunday morning, I drive back to the Columbus area. And that night, she calls me and she said, I just want to know, make sure you got home okay. And I said, yeah, I got home okay. And she said, I have a question for you. And I said, what? She said, what are you on? I was like, what are you talking about? She says,
Mm.
no, what are you on? And I said, okay, explain, what do you mean? And she said, I've never seen you look healthier. Like you just look healthier.
It
Your
just hit her
skin.
that you were not struggling with the usual stuff
Yeah,
that was normal around
yeah,
you,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm on a SIA. And she said, what's that? And I said, I really don't know. But she goes, where is it? How do you get it? And I said, I said, Dr. Darren. And she's like, Dr. Darren? She said, I want it. Now, my sister, is a medical professional. She worked as a nurse for more than 40 years. And at that point, she was working in a rehab facility that helped the older population. It was a place where they would go when they got brand new knees and brand new hips,
Mhm.
and she said, I want it. Well, that was like my moment that I need to share it.
Wow.
And because she saw something in me that I wasn't recognizing, but she saw it. I'm like, I gotta tell people. So now I'm back in Columbus, and I just start looking up on Eventbrite and Meetup, and I found a couple of vendor events found a couple of networking groups, and then I just, I learned how to network. I just learned how to talk to people and just tell them my story. And
Yeah.
that's what I continue to do.
So
Uh,
you didn't become expert on redox in order to start sharing it with other people, right?
no, not at all. I mean, yeah, I can talk about it now, but it's been, 8 years. And at one point when you realize that there's something to it, because why am I no longer struggling with allergies? Why am I no longer struggling with a autoimmune condition that I had? I didn't mention. Why am I no longer struggling with the back challenge, the issues? Um, there was a lot there. So now it's like I just share it. I tell people about it. And most of the people that I talk to, they've never heard of it. So then I
Yeah.
know it's right there at that moment. It's about education. It's about, do you have a little bit of time? I'd like to share what this stuff is so you can make a proper, a proper
Educated
judgment
decision.
and a
Yeah.
decision
Yeah.
and it's always good now when you do that and you help somebody and you get that text message that says, oh my God, so thank you so much for sharing this with me.
Yeah.
And it's, it's, and you understand this, we can't take it for them. We can't want it more for anybody else than they want it for themselves.
Yeah.
We can't open the bottle for them and pour the glass, and so it does take commitment, and that's something that I also stress. If you're going to take this, please be serious. Please commit to it. Please give your body enough time to
Yeah.
recognize the changes and the shifts that will happen. And
That's a very important point. For me, I look at it as a health insurance policy because
yeah.
when you take health insurance, when you're paying for health insurance, you are betting on being covered when you are sick.
Yeah.
The insurance company betting on you not getting sick because then they have to pay. Well,
Mhm.
I am taking my responsibility in my own hands, and I want to make sure that the proximity of me getting sick is low because
Yeah.
I'm doing something important in charge of my health. When you decide to eat organic food, it costs more money, but you make the
Yeah.
decision for your health. It's not, there's no insurance that pays for that. But you take supplements, you don't even know if they work in your body, but you take them because you believe that your body needs them. And it's usually educated decision. Do you feel something right away? No, but you take it because you know it's important. Well, I look
Mhm.
at it the same way. Tell me when you comparing the quality of life you had then than you have now.
Well, it's so much better. Like, for instance, I love to play golf. I don't have to prep my body anymore before I play golf. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
61 right now, and it's not like I have to, get on the floor, stretch and make sure that I take an over-the-counter
Something.
pain reliever like an Aleve or something prior to go to prevent anything. I just rely on the redox and just take that every single day. And, I don't experience those setbacks. I just, that thought that I had every single day for so long about, is this the day that it's going to pop out? And I don't have that feeling anymore. I'm,
And
uh,
that was very real.
it was very, yeah, very
Yeah.
real and,
Yeah.
interesting. And once a year, I go play golf with my friends. We have a weekend together, and you know, we're at that age that, they're starting to replace joints and stuff. And so I've got a lot of
Exactly.
friends that did a lot of like construction type of work and need new
Very
hips and
physical.
a
Yeah.
new, yeah, and a new need a new knee or whatever. And luckily I've not had to have that, and I don't anticipate it either. So I get up every single day. I just jump out of bed. I can walk, I can run, I can do probably more things now than I did 8 years ago.
Yeah. I definitely do for myself, yeah.
Yeah.
But one question also, since you started doing it as a business, how is that different from jumping up and down in in a pit of the trader center and being stressed all the time?
Yeah.
What is the feeling doing this compared to what you used to do?
When I was jumping up and down, screaming for a living at the Chicago Board of Trade, it was kind of all about me. It was, yeah, I would fill an order or execute an order, and yeah, it was for the client and the customer. But I was always worried about, how much money did I make, and here it's I'm helping people.
Yeah,
If they're coming, here's the thing: if somebody's coming to me, or even you, or any other rep, they've pretty much been through what I call the redundant cycle of either medications, or they've been through, um, doctor to specialist to doctor to a new type of medication or this medication, or they've
trials.
endured a lot. They have been through different trials. They've exhausted pretty much all of their whatever they knew about or were told about at
Mhm.
that point. And so now it's like, okay, like you were saying that earlier. Okay, you know, what are you expecting, out of this, and we can get them there. We can get them to that point where maybe they're not taking medications. I don't know. Maybe they're not experiencing challenges when they get up, or
Yeah,
discomfort, or uh, we don't know. And the thing is, when we help them, we're not just helping them, we're helping their families, their spouses, their kids, because now everybody, I had one friend
benefits.
say,
Yeah,
yeah, the benefits. One of our friends said, you know what? My wife got her husband back. My daughter got her dad back because
yeah.
now I could participate in living again. And so it feels good to do that. We know it will respond positively, but what does that look like? What is that going to take? How
Yeah,
long was that? How long
exactly.
will that process take?
But
Yeah,
it's valuable when we shared our both experiences with the significant health challenge that affected everything in our lives. When you look at it
mhm,
that way and you approach something that is not really well known, it's there is a clinical study that it's 100% zero toxicity. It cannot hurt
mhm.
you. It can only improve things.
Yeah,
Then what are you gonna lose
yeah,
when you try? It's you can if you give it honest chance, because of course it doesn't work, just like when you don't go to gym and do 5 push-ups and expect to have a six-pack, it doesn't immediately, because it works on cellular level and it
yeah,
affects everything in the body. And some things may take priority over others, but you will experience improvement if you give your body enough of what it needs. And like I look at it, like, what do you have to lose except
yeah,
maybe some discomfort in your body
yeah,
or many
yeah,
more?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's the whole idea is to get your life back, to be productive, and to live a more joyous life, because you can do
yeah,
things, maybe you can do things that you couldn't do, like both of us. We can do things now that we couldn't do. We're not
absolutely.
getting out. None of us are getting out alive, but let's when it's time for us to exit, let's
Let's
be
live
productive.
those years in the highest possible quality. Yeah,
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 enjoyment, exact. And
yeah,
so um, that's the goal. That's the goal, to help people, as many people as we can, to experience, you know, uh, joy again. What does it
yeah.
feel like to be back in the uh, prior to what you're experiencing, and it's,
Well, Brett, this was such a joy to hear your
yeah,
story and hear what you went through. I'm sorry what you endured, but
yeah,
thank God you found solution that work for you. And I'm really so appreciative of your time and so glad we met, even though
yeah,
we work with the same company and technology, but we never met in person. And hopefully that will change soon.
yeah, yeah,
It's really joy for me to hear other people's story because obviously I have my own, and then I'm surrounded
Mhm.
by people that I was able to share it with, and they have their own stories. But like we repeated again, not one story is the same. Everybody
Yeah.
is different. Everybody is collection of different issues, different age, different. Some people are already on medication. Some people never took medication. Some people eat healthy. Some other people sit with the chips on the couch, watch TV. Obviously, the body will respond differently to different challenges. But
Yeah.
this is something that you can do with zero risk to any side effects. You just need to give it enough time so your
Yeah.
body can actually start repairing the years long damage that we do abuse our bodies
Yeah.
big time. And
Yeah.
we think like, you know, when you think of it, you can bring car and replace stuff, and you can always replace a car. But we have this one body that
Yeah.
we can replace. That's good as it gets.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I tell you, I appreciate you, inviting me on and learning about your story as well. And
Mm.
yeah, we do the same thing, but we've got a big job to do. There's 340
Yeah.
million people in the United States alone that
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's a lot more that have never heard of this. And
absolutely.
so,
And
just
and thank God people are turning more into safer, like more natural solutions than everything being addressed with medication or surgery,
yeah.
because that's the very reactive kind of approach of Western medicine.
Hmm.
And people are realizing it's not as harmless as it seems. Those quick fixes may leave you with significant side effects for the rest of your life. So it's always for me, and I don't want to tell anybody what to do, but for me, I always look for the safest solution first and reach for medication as the last resort.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, a lot of people go for medication first because that's really quick. It takes whatever they are looking to take away, it happens within 30 minutes. But then you just really put band-aid over your warning signals of your body, because your body is
Hmm.
telling you that something is going on, that you need to pay attention. And I think that's
Yeah.
important to know, that it's really not resolving the issue. It's just covering it up with band-aid, and it's temporary, like you very
Yeah,
well
exactly.
know.
Yeah, and interesting enough too, somebody I forgot who once told me, they said, when you start taking a medication for something, you have that at that point you have to heal from two different things. Your body has to heal from whatever the condition is, and then it has to heal from whatever the effects of the
Yeah,
pharmaceutical or the
yeah,
over-the-counter medications,
exactly.
and so yeah, and we've been conditioned to through the media, especially TV and radio advertisements, that's the way to go,
Yeah.
and
It's
right,
pretty
we go
normal.
to
Yeah,
the
yeah. You get to point when you are in your 60s, you are on multiple medications for life, and
Mhm.
that seems to be normal. And I didn't want to go that route. And luckily, I don't have to so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah, me too, so yeah, it is, it's fun to I really do like to educate people on this. And again, I don't know what your reaction is going to be. I don't know, but I just like telling people that there's another way.
Yeah.
And if
And
they would
I
just
would encourage everybody, if Brett's story resonated with you and his personality, please be sure to reach out and discuss it with him one on one. He will give you resources. He will answer your questions, help you to navigate through that unknown world, because
Mhm.
it's something that has never been available before, 15,
Mhm.
16 years ago. But we are on the market long enough to to guarantee that this is not some startup and some untested territory. We have studies after studies that confirm that it cannot hurt anyone. It's really in us already. It's identical to what our body makes. So all we are
Yeah.
doing is replenishing those very impactful, fundamental signaling molecules that our body needs for everything. So with that said, thank you again for so much of your time, and I really appreciate learning your story. And I just hope it was helpful for everybody, and encourage anybody. I will post all the contacts information on Brett in the podcast show notes, and feel free to reach out and just learn maybe in a little more details what it takes, how long, what you need to do, and he will guide you through starting your own protocol, starting your own journey.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.